It's not my kind, it's not my time to wonder why everything's gone white and everything's gray. Now you're here, now you're away. I don't want this, remember that. I'll never forget where you're at. Don't let the days go by, bless around. Don't let the days go by, bless around. I'm never alone, I'm alone all the time. Are you at one? Do you lie?
Alright. Yeah, that's right. That's me, bitches. I just, sorry about that. I was recording the other day, and I just started playing Glycerin, and I was just like, I've never recorded it, and, so yeah, I had no plans on putting that song out or anything. It's just something that I did for myself. Most musicians, and I don't mean this in a bad way, most musicians make music for themselves first. And what I mean by that is that we make it for ourselves that, it's kind of like looking at a picture and just saying, I really wish this had, this color, or this kind of definition, and to make it your own. So yeah, I didn't see the point in putting up the actual song because I really wanted to play it since I've been playing it, at home by myself for so many years, and never once even thought about, I think I play it live maybe one time, but for 90% of it, it's a song that I love to just play at home, and so I just want to see what it would come out to, and yeah, I played about, a third of it, since I had to set up the computer anyway and break up my weed. So, so yeah, that was Glycerin by Bush, covered by moi. I'll probably end the show with the rest of the song, just because there's no one else that's gonna hear it. I don't know. Send me I don't know. Write in a comment if you didn't like it, if you liked it, whatever. You got another subscriber. So let's go ahead and just throw them up there. Okay, go away now. Thank you for subscribing. Okay, let's begin our show. So the caption for today was about privatization of prisons and why they suck. Now, again, the reason why every caption has the word "sucks" in it is simple. It's because the show was supposed to originally be called "Everything Sucks and I Can Prove It," and that's because it's one of my favorite lyrics by Slipknot. And if you're wondering, it's off the Iowa album. Speaking of Slipknot, just heard recently that they were put on a list for top 7 most dark lyric, most song with the darkest lyrics. And Slipknot, I was like, they better be on that list. And they were, but the guy picked the song 515, which is not even a song. and it has a lot of screaming and just noise, and it's just being messed around probably by what 133 and Sid both probably screwing with it, and the producer. Um, Now, what my issue was there are no lyrics to that song. So how could it be one of the most darkest lyrical songs when there's no fucking lyrics? And then, excuse me, he, the narrator, the YouTuber, um, completely took his quote out of context, or at least misunderstood the quote. Sid Wilson had said the story that if you're a maggot, you know the story. Sid Wilson plays, he's number 0 in Slipknot, and he's the DJ. Now, his grandfather died on the day that he was to be recording his part for his tracks in the Iowa album. So he had every intention of doing his parts, finishing them early, and then heading over to go see his grandfather. Which, you know, if you're that, if you're that old and your grandfather's still around, they have to be very special to you because I noticed that with grandparents, it's you know, it's a really nice thing to have. I didn't grow up with grandparents. My grandfather died when I was very young. So my memories are very short, brief, and kind of hazy. And so Sid was very close to his. And he was supposed to finish off his tracks 2 days early so he can get on a plane and go off and see his grandfather before he died, who was in the hospital and on his deathbed. So it turned out the day that he actually did his recordings was the day that he passed away. So it was just a really sad thing. Oh, we have another one. Let's go ahead and throw this one up. There you go. Thank you, Shakira. Get out of here. All right. So, it's just a sad story, and what happened was afterwards, Sid found out that his grandfather had passed, and he had basically said, "You know what? Just keep the shit recording, and just leave me alone." So when you listen to the song Iowa, you hear a lot of his screaming and wailing, and you know it was just brutal, raw pain coming from him. So the fact that this guy used completely misunderstood his quote, and because Sid even says, I put it on the end of the album, not at the end of the song. So the guy picks a song that is not only not the one that Sid was talking about, but also it was a song that had no fucking lyrics anyway. So how could it be the darkest lyrics without lyrics? It makes no damn sense. And again, it's just those, you know, it's another case of those kids that are making these reaction videos because they'd never heard of being eclectic and hearing other styles of music. You know, if you live in a world with one genre of music, I pity you because there's so much out there to be discovered. That's what music is for. Music has been a language. It's a universal language for all human beings. And every style of music comes from environment. So there are people in these crazy parts of the world, in the mountains, where they can literally sing together and make the sound of water. It is fucking crazy. I saw it on a documentary on Nova, and it was probably one of the most interesting things I've ever seen. So, yeah. with that said, the reason why the episode is talking about privatization is because I recently found out about yet another famous person that's famous to me dying in a private prison and in Tennessee. And afterwards, they had done an audit and found out within the past 5 years, this fucking sheriff has, consistency. The only thing that's consistent is that his, you know, their testimonies or their affidavits that talk about the death of an inmate is never matching the autopsy. So they always claim suicide, and it turns out to be murder. So there was an old wrestler. There used to be two wrestlers called Too Cool back in the day. And it was Scotty Too Hottie and Grandmaster Sexay. And we all knew Grandmaster Sexay was Jerry Lawler's son, Brian Christopher. He didn't want to go with Lawler's last name because he wanted to carve out his own legacy, kind of like The Rock did. And he was actually really good friends with The Rock back when they were starting out. Now, he gets in some shit with a sheriff, and, in a drunken fit, says some really stupid shit, like, if you take these cuffs off, I'm going to rip your head off. Something stupid like that. And, I'm guilty of the same shit. When you're drunk and you're fucked up, man, you're going to say some crazy shit, all right? And look at Mel Gibson, dude. I mean, sometimes people pour out their souls and tell you that it's like truth serum. And for others, they become complete compulsive liars. So whenever someone tells you, a drunk tells you the truth, that's a goddamn lie. Because I have heard some fucking doozies when I've been drunk and listening to other people's stories going, dude, how drunk do you think I am to believe that shit? And so, excuse me. So what happened was Brian Christopher had said something stupid like that. Now, he ends up getting pulled over later on, a couple weeks later. He gets pulled over for apparently driving erratically. Now, Brian, of course, says, I was not driving erratically. And the report states that he smelled of alcohol and had a 12-ounce can. When do you ever hear a 12-ounce can, open can, in the car? They didn't say what drink it was. They didn't say it was an alcoholic beverage. They didn't say it was a beer. They just said it was a 12-ounce can that had been opened. That could have been Coke. That could have been fucking Sprite. That could have been fucking Monster drinks. He's a goddamn wrestler, so it's probably was like protein, caffeine kind of drinks. They're always drinking. It could have been anything like that. Now, Brian Christopher was so assured of himself that he said, look, I will pull a breathalyzer. Take it out. I'll do one right here. And if it's 0, let me go home. And, of course, the guy agrees, which, if you ever take a cop for his word, wrong answer. So the police officer says something to the effect of, yeah, sure, man, deal. Bet, bro, bet. Fuck cops, man. They're always lying. And so instead, he takes out the breathalyzer and he gets a 0.00. So with no reason, no rhyme or reason, they take him into the fucking cell anyway and arrest him and put him into a drunk tank. You're putting a non-drunk in a drunk tank. So this is obviously a personal vendetta that this station has with this guy. And being that his father is Jerry Lawler, it's not like he ever lived on that, He purposely went with a different name so that way he was never compared to his father. So this was a guy that had done everything he could to have his own name. And in doing that, it kind of ruined it for him because suddenly he had a bullet on it. He had a target on his back. And so his father, Jerry Lawler, comes to visit him in jail. And he wants to, pay the bond, get him out. And when he wants to bond him out, he's told by the sheriff that has been, his name's like Dooley. Yeah, seriously, like fucking Doofy from fucking Scary Movie. So, this idiot uh, tells Lawler to let him stay in jail because this is where he'll be the safest anyway, and this way it avoids any chance for him to have to take a 90-day jail sentence. And so he agrees to that idea, which any father would. And 20 days later, he's murdered. And they call it a suicide. And the amount of evidence that's missing in this is incredible. The blatant lies that the private prison had fed to Jerry Lawler as well as the government itself. I mean, in one other case, they have they arrested him for not having basically not having sufficient funds on a credit card. He used a corporate credit card to get in a hotel. Okay, we have all gone to hotels. In order to get the keys to a room, they have to accept your credit card and charge it, right? I mean, isn't that how it works? So how can you tell them that when they're checking out, oh, that card never went through? How did you give me the keys then? If the card didn't go through, you wouldn't have fucking given me the keys. I've been to every damn hotel, pretty much every major hotel, from Hilton's to, Marriott's and all that shit. You have to pay first. Like, your funds have to be sufficient to get the keys. So that makes no sense to me whatsoever, how they can just say, oh, your card didn't go through, so these policemen are already here. What a fucking coincidence. So this guy ends up dead. They call it a suicide. It's fucking obvious that they were starving him of his medications, which he takes a lot of the same meds that I do for depression. He also had the same condition, so he took citalopram as well. I take citalopram, and I'm on a 40 milligram a day script, and it manages my MDD, major depressive disorder. So he had the same problem, but he was also going through withdrawals probably from cocaine or speed or something, because also from benzos, because he was given a Xanax prescription. And when they had done the toxicity report, they found absolutely nothing except for traces of drugs that were so minute it could only be attributed to a person that's been prescribed these kind of drugs and takes them on a daily basis. There's an opiate level that was so low that it's from taking your pills every day, So the whole point of telling you this horrible story is that this kid was murdered, and his father was lied to and treated like a fucking celebrity first, while behind his back they were killing his son. And then they got lucky that it turned out a year later, I mean, this is terrible, but I guess it's lucky, that the same thing happened to another convict. And luckily their family also pressed charges against it. questioning the story, and they found out that this case was fraudulent. So when you have that many people telling you that, hey, this shit doesn't look right, and you have, lawyers telling you something's wrong here, and you have prison inmates who love Jerry Lawler because they love wrestling, and they're all telling him, hey, that's not what the fucking went down. We were there. We saw it. The sheriffs are feeding you bullshit. We won't lie to you because we're fans of yours. So it's just heartbreaking. And so it happened again. And the whole point is, again, the fact that privatized prisons are a fucking joke. They perpetuate a system where incarceration rates. We have the highest incarceration rates per capita than any other fucking country in the world. We have more people in jail than anybody else. And why is that? And we have more jails than we have daycare centers. Why is that? And how can you have a public institution such as law enforcement, but a privatized jail? All jails should be federal or state. Never, ever private. It should not be owned. That's how you get those kind of Shawshank Redemption kind of what's the word? Yeah, the warden. And privatized prisons are just a breeding ground for corruption, lies, and disingenuine, basically just a system built on a lie after another lie. And simply, they pay off the people that they need to keep their non-public institution private. In my opinion, this should not exist. If you want to own a privatized prison, fine. But it needs to go through federal scrutiny and be audited at least twice a month. We should have some sort of fucking cap for these prisons, because it turned out that their homicide rate within that prison, that privatized prison in Tennessee where Brian Christopher died, that place had a homicide rate that was twice the amount of a regular Gen Pop style correction facility. So the fact that these types of things can still happen is just amazing, knowing what age we live in and we're still going through this crap. I don't understand it, and I don't think I ever will. So yeah, have you ever been to a hotel where you were not charged immediately? Has that ever happened to you? I highly doubt it. And there was a guy that his name escapes me right now, but he was a brutal dictating bastard that was in Texas not too long ago. And he was a warden for a corrections office, for a prison. And he treated them like dogs. He thought of them as less than human. He also had drills in schools where policemen, there was one asshole literally pulling a gun out as if this is a live shooter situation and not just a drill for kids. So he's scaring the shit out of these kids that are supposed to be following these procedures. Meanwhile, he pulls a real gun out. Like, how sick of an individual do you have to be to pull a gun out into a school? I remember being a kid, and when we would talk to police officers in school, or if they had an assembly and we get to meet a police officer, we would always ask the same shit. Have you ever killed anybody? Have you ever shot your weapon? And of course, can we see your gun? And the answer is always no. And you know why? It's because that's a professional. A professional does not take out a weapon with children in the building. And it's goddamn pathetic. So, privatized jails are a fucking joke and need to be completely abolished for good. And that is why I titled this episode after that. In other news, I guess, the graphic novel Callous is out. There's 2 sneak peeks for it on YouTube that are pretty awesome, in my opinion. We're getting a lot of help from my friend Jay Santiago, who did our logo, he does all of our art stuff, and he has contributed the 2 frames that you see on the covers for Callous Part 1 and Part 2. And I was actually on my mom's phone the other day, and she doesn't really use it, so other than to call and text. I mean, she's old. So I went on her YouTube because I got her own account and email address and stuff like that, and I put in Callous, and all it came up with was these disgusting pictures of feet and talking about different calluses on your feet. So if you're looking up on YouTube, I don't know, man, put in Useless Agent and then Callous, or put in Callous Part 2, because I noticed when Part 2 was added, then our video was, I think, like the 3rd or 4th down on the YouTube search engine. So I mean, that's some progress, man. I honestly thought we'd get about 4 or 5 views on that shit. So, doing a lot better than we expected. Tomorrow, I want to be talking about something that's really fucked up, but I've been trying to get to this subject about AI. And so, we're definitely going to get more into that tomorrow, because it's just a long topic. But it's about AI and it's not about a robot revolution or anything. I'm just saying that, we need to kind of curb our progress a little bit, because we're moving a little too fast. And AI is, it's improving exponentially every day. And it's a scary thought. Because although it's going to be a lot easier to do shit, it's also going to bring a lot of different hardships too, So that is my time. Thank you for spending it with me. We love you guys. Always hit us up on uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. And like I said, I'm going to end this probably with the rest of the song by Bush, Glycerin. This is performed by Useless Agent. Alright, so enjoy the music. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. We love you guys. And I can't wait to see your comments and concerns and emails later on. Alright? So we love you. Take care of each other. And as always, I will see you on the other side.
Do you lie? Everything I will, and everything steals. When it rises like strawberry fields, and treated you bad, you bruised my face. Couldn't find more, you got a beautiful taste. Don't let the days go.